Hello, followers of Christ. I hope you're having another great day. I am coming to you today to just remind you to be encouraged and to encourage others. This is a very tough season. This season is really exercising our strength and our faith and our trust in God. And God is doing that by moving ahead of us without any idea of what direction he's going. And it's because he wants us to trust him. And so, one thing I have noticed is there's a lot going on, including in my own life. There's so much going on that I have no control over. When I say no control over stuff, I'm talking like, um, I have two doctor's appointments scheduled at the same time. Both of them require me to be there, and if I reschedule either one, I have to wait another month. I have no control over that. I just gotta. So now I gotta pick which one's the most important to go to. Um, Another example would be, with the prices of stuff in the store. I don't have any control over things going up. Medications going up, food going up. I still have to buy it. Yes, I can buy a cheaper brand, but even the cheaper brands are now just as expensive. So I'm still having to, even though I'm making the changes for budget adjustments, I'm still having to stretch this dollar even further than what I ever had to do before, because everything just prices just continue to go up. Um, you know, my daughter, she just had a reaction the other day while we were at the game. I can't control that. I can't, I don't know what to do to stop it, because the doctors still to this day don't know what's causing the reactions. We've tried all types of tests and things, and they don't know what it is that she's allergic to. We would have to go through an extreme different type of chemical, some or another, in order to even find out. And they don't think it's worth that. But um so when she has her reactions, I have to make sure I have medications on hand, on deck. But then when she goes to school and she has a reaction, she's not allowed to take the medicine to school without the doctor's note. And then the doctor note says, well, they only allow, EpiPens, which her reactions aren't serious enough for EpiPen. But if they get to that point, that's something I can't control. The cost of an EpiPen, she'll have to keep it on her at all times. And, we just have to trust and pray that God is covering her, so that when she does have a breakout, because she don't have an EpiPen, that she's covered to where she can get the assistance that she need within a timely manner. Thank God this particular time we happened to be there. By the time we got home, it was really, really bad, but we stayed on top of it. We prayed, and we were able to get everything under control with just over the counter medications. But again, things that are out of my control. We don't know what's causing it, so there's nothing we can do to prevent it. My vehicle, I told y'all about that. We don't know what's the cause of it. We know to get it fixed is gonna cost a tremendous amount of dollars that we don't have. And even looking, we don't even have the emergency funds to even purchase a new vehicle. So we don't know what's going on as far as like what direction we're going financial wise with things, but we're trusting that God's going to continue to provide. So I thank God my husband, strategically, God's plan, his job has put him on a mandate work from home. What does that mean? That means that now I have a vehicle to go back and forth to work, because he's home for at least a month. So we know for at least a month, God has us covered. Now, once that month is up, we'll see what God has in store. But I have to trust God's plan. I can't keep saying, well, I got to figure this out. I got to figure this out. This is something that's bigger than me. My salary has not changed. I don't see it changing in the near future, just because of where I'm working at. And I am not relying on man to fix this for me. So I'm saying all this is because that's a lot for one person. For me individually, have I been through stuff a lot worse? Yes. Have I made it through those things? Yes. But just because you've been through something before doesn't take away the stress and anxiety and worry you're feeling in the present of what you're going through now. It just means that you approach it differently, but the feelings are still the same. So I still feel the same worries and stress that I would have felt had I not had, if this had happened 5 years ago. But one thing that I've learned over my years, wisdom that God has given me, is in these times we have to be encouraging. We have to encourage others. We have to encourage ourselves. And we are blessed by that encouragement. And how are we blessed by that encouragement? Anytime you allow his name to brush across your lips, you are being blessed. You're going to be blessed for it. And that's what encouragement does. He sees that you're stepping in and you're acknowledging him and you're giving other people the idea to mention his name. There's strength, there's power in his name. So every time that you mention his name and you encourage other people to mention his name and to trust in him and to put him at the forefront of their mind, you're going to be blessed for that. Now, we're not doing this for the sake of being blessed, but I'm just telling you that's just how the process has been working for me. And I'm just trying to remind you that I get it. I understand it. I sympathize with you. I sympathize with your pain, with your frustration, with your worries, with your discouragement. But do know that God is working. He is still here today. He is still out here moving mountains for you. He is still out here turning this world upside down to move things out of your way so you can get to the next step. It just doesn't look like it because of everything seems to be happening all at once. But that's what the enemy wants you to focus on. The devil wants you to focus on all the things happening at once. He don't want you to focus on the bigger, the better, the greater my God, right? He wants you to see that, oh, this is too much. It's too much for you as a human, but it's not too much for God. God likes a challenge. He wants, I'm recalling a story in the Bible when a soldier, there was an army that was getting ready to go into battle, and God told him to send over half his army home because he said, I'm gonna win this war, but you got too many people. I need to work with less because I need people to know that this is me. I'm the reason why you're gonna win this war. So he sent majority of his soldiers home because God wanted the challenge to be greater. And so sometimes when we have a lot of stuff going on in our life and it looks like, oh my gosh, it's too much, it's because God's saying, I need your challenge to be greater. I need your trial to be larger, because when I fix it, when I break through, when I show up, when I show out, when I deliver the miracle that you're seeking me for, I need them to know that nobody did this but God. There is no scientific explanation as to why you made it to the other side other than him. So with that being said, I'm encouraging you, yes, acknowledge, praise, and worship God when you're going through a lot of stuff, because that just means he's making the problem bigger and stronger enough for him. It's kind of like when you see people in the weight room and they're lifting weights and they'll tell you to add more weight, because it's got to be a challenge for them. And there are times when God wants to exercise his power, but it has to be a challenge. So he has to put on more weight. He has to put on more, make it more difficult. He has to allow more things to come into your life and to mess it up just a little bit more, so that when he does deliver, you have no question without a shadow of a doubt that the only reason why this happened is because God moved things around to allow it to happen. You can't say, oh, well, I've been working on my credit score, I got approved, and now things are working out. He don't want that. He don't want you to be able to say, oh, well, you know what, I just happened to be scrolling on the Facebook market and found this car this couple was having a reasonable car for sale. But they do that all the time. That's not true. That is God moving mountains for you to allow things to happen so that you are taken care of, that he's providing you with your needs. So don't let somebody, don't get discouraged. And don't let somebody try to justify God bringing you out of your miracle. But more importantly, don't get discouraged if you have a lot on your chest. If your chest is feeling heavy, just know that, okay, God can still handle this. There's nothing too big for him. So, Go through your moment, have your feelings, but at the end of the day, come back to the reality of that God is going to take care of this too. He's going to make it bigger. He's going to move you out of it. He's going to lift you up. He's going to elevate you. He's going to shift you. And when that shift happens, nobody can question that God has done it for you. And I'm telling you this based off experience. I've been through this before. That's why I'm more calm now. If you had met me 6 years ago, when I went through this same transition that I'm going through now, where I had quit my job, I didn't lose my job. I quit my job. Even though they was asking for me to come back, I was under obedience. I had quit my job. I had bills piled up. I was literally almost 2-3 months behind on mortgage on my rent, because at the time I didn't own my home. I was renting. I was behind on my rent payments. My kids were needing things in school, and not only were they needing things in school, but we was steady looking in the refrigerator, and it's like, okay, Lord, what we gonna eat today? I don't know why I keep opening up this refrigerator, because there's nothing in there. But every day He still provided a hot meal. Every day they went to school healthy. Every day they ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner without question. Every day we were able to still pay our mortgage when we moved out. Again, I say pay our mortgage because at the time when all this happened, when I was 3 months behind on my rent, when I didn't have a job and my car was failing on me, because I didn't have this car at the time, I had another car and it was dying out on me. In a literally a matter of a month, God switched that all around. I went from being 3 months behind on my rent to owning a home. I went from having a car that we couldn't even afford a transmission for, to getting a brand new car. I went from not having any groceries in my refrigerator to feeding my kids some of the best meals of their life, full meals, like to the point where they had leftovers the day after, like refrigerator full of food. So don't allow your circumstances to discourage you from trusting God. I'm encouraging you right now to just allow God's process to work. It is hard when you're on your journey to see this. If you've never been through this before, if you've been through it before, you probably blamed it on life decisions and things like that. But again, one thing that we don't hear a lot of, sometimes God allow things to be in your life for the sake of Him being able to show up and shift and move and show you the level of His power. So, even though you may feel worried, concerned, or distressed about something, I want you to still be able to have that trust and have that faith and be encouraged to keep leaning, keep doing your daily prayers, keep doing your daily reading, keep doing your daily devotions and meditating, because God, when He moves it, and when I say it, I'm talking about all of it as a whole, not bits and pieces of it. When I say He picks it up and moves that thing, He picks it up and moves it, and it sits in a much better spot. You will be in a much better situation, and it's all going to be so fast. It's going to go so fast, you're going to want to be like, whoa, slow down. I want to be able to experience this, because that's how He works. He moves swiftly and abundantly. It is a magnificent thing to be able to see and witness when God moves in your life. So don't get discouraged. Like I said, I'm sitting here on this side because I've been through it once before. I'm going through it now, but I'm not discouraged. I've been encouraged. I am constantly being surrounded by friends and loved ones that remind me of what God can do for me and what He has done for me. Because sometimes you need that person that can remind you, remember when this happened and God did this for you? And that's okay, because that's what you need. I mean, so since I've been reminded of when God brought me out of something, I'm asking you, do you remember the time before you was here now? When God brought you out of that dark place, when God brought you off your knees, when God brought you out of that job or that bad apartment that you was in, when you were scared and terrified and thought that your life was over, and then you lived to see the next day more joyous than you thought you ever would before. When it was dark and you were scared and you didn't think you would never see daylight again, He brought you out of all of that because you're here right now listening to this video. That's how I know he brought you out of all of that. And because he's brought you out of it once, he'll do it again. And I know sometimes it can also be discouraging when you feel like you're in a repeated cycle. When you like, okay, yeah, you like just me. I just said God did this for me 5-6 years ago, and here I am in the same cycle. So now it makes me feel like I haven't learned anything. I haven't did anything that God had told me to do, and now I'm repeating the same cycle. That's not the case. I'm not in the same exact circumstances I was in 5 years ago. I'm just having the same emotional feelings about the situation like I did 5 years ago. So that's what I'm referencing when I say I've been through this before. I'm referencing how I felt when I felt lost, when I felt like I didn't have any control over the situation. That's what I'm feeling now. But the difference between now and then is that I have something to reference in order to hold on and be encouraged and trust in God's work and trust that He's going to deliver me out of it. So, for you all out there, I just want you to, take a moment and be encouraged and know and just trust His work, trust what He's doing, give Him the benefit of the doubt that this is part of his plan. That's the hardest part, because a lot of times when we got a lot of devastating things, we want to immediately say the enemy is working too much in my life. Some of that could be God allowing things to happen so he can make that shift for you. So don't acknowledge the enemy. Continue to acknowledge God, even though there's so much going on. Just say, Lord, okay, I see it, but I trust you. Lord, I don't understand it, but I trust you. Lord, I don't know which way I'm going, but I trust you. And what made me bring this up is because there's a little docu series going on Netflix about the Hurricane Katrina. And to hear those stories, I was, when that happened, I was pregnant with my daughter, so I was stressing out about having a baby. I do remember it happening. So I actually stayed in a town where they thought it was going to hit there and then come our way, and it didn't. And so I do remember and recall everything. And I didn't have a TV because I had just moved into my own place and didn't have a TV. But I do remember whenever I would go visit my mom or my uncle and stuff throughout the week. And I had a cousin that went through it too. But when I would go visit and they would talk about how bad it was, but not to this magnitude. And so looking at that docu series, they literally did not know what direction to go. They did not know how, they was relying on the city authorities to take care of them. They was trusting what they saying. They was like, well, they saying it's not gonna be this bad. Well, they're saying is they were literally relying on their information, but at the same time, some of them was having discernment. Like you would hear how some of them at the last minute changed their mind and left. The ones that could, the ones that couldn't, they tried to go seek shelter where they told them to go seek shelter, and then that didn't work. And then, so they kept relying. But then once they changed and realized that man wasn't taking care of them, they was gonna have to go a little higher, a little further with their relying, with their faith and their belief, and they started trusting in God. Things started happening. Things started changing for them, and I'm listening to their stories, and I'm hearing them say this. This isn't my words, these are their words. I'm hearing them say when the change came, when God showed up, when things started becoming more. It still was not great. Keep in mind, they went through this. They're still going through this. It was not great, but they saw the shift. When the shift happened and things went from a solid standstill until it started moving and they started getting delivered, they started being relieved of that situation. It was because they changed their mindset. They didn't think they wasn't, they stopped focusing on what man was and wasn't gonna do, and they started thinking about, okay, they're not coming to help us, so we got to help ourselves. And some of them helped themselves the best way they knew how. And same thing, I would have did the same thing too. Not saying I wouldn't. But others, not only did they help themselves that way, but they started spiritually, they started relying on God, they started praying, they started seeking a way out on their own. And because of that, they were able to strengthen the authority that God had to move them from that situation. Now, for some of us, we can't see the God and all that. But for others, when I watched it, I wasn't in it, and I'm not. I can't speak on behalf of them because I did not. I've never experienced anything like that. Uh, but from watching their testimony and the reenactment of some of it, and some of it was just real live recordings, looking at all of that take place, I was able to see the transition, see when God showed up, and see when God delivered these people. When the enemy kept saying no, God started saying yes. And that's how it is in your life when you can breathe. When you see that you in a dark places, you literally cannot see the light of day, and then all of a sudden sun starts shining nowhere. That is exactly how God works. And I was just so blessed to be able to see this on tape. But it just reminded me that they was encouraging each other. That's why they got to where they were. One of the examples is when he said they started singing and marching gospel songs. And that's when he saw it. And then this thing, he was able to get out. It's things like that. It's like, that transition. When you invite the Holy Spirit into the chaos, you will start seeing the sunlight. You will start seeing the way out that you couldn't see before. And it's a blessing to be able to be a witness to it. It's a blessing to be able to hear the testimony of those who were able to survive and get out. But it is very sad to see that things, got so bad and was put in that position. But like I said, sometimes things are happening and we want to say, oh, the enemy, the enemy, the enemy. But sometimes God are allowing things so that his magnitude can be shown. So give him that opportunity. Just trust, though. You got to trust. You got to trust him. You got to trust the process. You got to trust that he's with you. You got to trust that the Holy Spirit is present. You just got to usher him in. You got to invite him in order for you to get to that position to where God shows up and shows out on your behalf, where the miracles happen. So I really hope I blessed you all today. I really hope what I said was understanding and receivable. I am very, 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 very beyond thankful and grateful for what God has done in my life and what he's about to do in my life. I don't have a perfect life. I'm not going to sit here and say I do, but I do know that my life is better off than a lot of people. And not saying that to be boastful or anything, but it's, in other words, like, the things that I'm complaining about, I should have no business complaining about. But no, you are according to your lifestyle. So anytime something drops below your normal lifestyle, you're going to feel like a person that's on the side of the road. And the person on the side of the road is like, hey, I'm living my best life and I feel like I'm living my worst life, but they on the side of the road. But again, it's according to what your lifestyle is. So with that being said, I am being very grateful for where God has me and where he's brought me, but I also am not naive to the fact that he does allow things to go on in my life in order for him to elevate me, to shift me, and to move me. And then there's also the things of my decisions that I make where I choose to take an alternative plan that makes it a little longer to get to where he's trying to take me. But at the same time, I have to remember, regardless of what decision I make, as long as I keep on encouraging myself to stay with God and focus on God, he will lead me back to the path that I'm supposed to be on. And that's what you all have to remember, that regardless, even if you did take a wrong turn, even if you did go somewhere you weren't supposed to go, even if you did take something you weren't supposed to take, even though you committed a sin that was a sin, if you start putting God in the forefront, he will redirect your path. He will put you back in God's good grace, as they say, and he will put you in a position to be elevated and shifted despite what man say. God judges us off our heart, and as long as your heart may not have been pure at the time, but as long as you are working towards that, he will be there for you. He'll be your protector. He'll be your guide. So I hope this bless you all. Y'all have a good evening.